Mike Radich here, and I'm now joined on the phone by MMA veteran Joe Doerksen. Joe, how are you?
I'm good, thanks.
Joe, you got a fight coming up September 13th at CFC 8. I'm just going to cut right to the chase, Joe. There's been a lot of rumors about this possibly being your last fight. Is there any truth to this rumor? Is this possibly going to be the last time we see you in action?
It's not 100% sure. I thought maybe it would be my last one, but now that I'm back training and stuff, I'm feeling pretty good, and probably gonna do a couple more. But it just really comes down to what kind of offers I get. I'm just gonna go one fight at a time, and if it's something interesting, I'll do it. If it's not interesting, then I won't do it.
Mm-hmm. Just curious, why did you have those thoughts about retirement before you got back to training?
Things change, life changes, and I've been doing this same thing for almost 15 years now. I just kind of feel like at some point I'm going to have to move on. Mm-hmm. So I'm not exactly sure when that's going to be, but like I said, one fight at a time. So I'm going to do this one for sure, and then we'll see what comes up next. If nothing exciting happens, then I'll move on, and if I get a phone call and something interesting gets put in front of me, then I'll take it.
Mm-hmm. Now, if you win on September 13th, that'll make 50 wins in your career. Is that something that will play a factor, getting that 50th win and just, kind of riding off into the sunset? Because it kind of makes sense for this to kind of be your last fight, because you're fighting in your hometown, you get the win, it's your 50th win, and, you can just go off into the sunset. Will getting this win play any sort of factor?
Yes and no. I mean, it'd be a good time to walk away, I guess, but I'm not really committed to walking away from it. It just really, like I said, it just really depends. Like, if I get an offer to do something, and it's a good test for me too. It's been almost a full year since my last fight, so it'll be a good test to see how I feel in there. If I feel good and the fight goes well, then I might just, I might think to myself, hey, I can do 3 or 4 more. We'll see. Mm-hmm. But everything's kind of up in the air right now. I'm going to just focus on getting this one done and do the best job that I can, and we'll see how things go afterwards.
Mm-hmm. You've been fighting for a very long time, 15 years. You fought basically a who's who in this sport. You've been around a very long time, but you're only 35. It's kind of surprising for someone who's been around as long as you have to only be 35 years old. What would be some possible reasons why you want to hang up the gloves? Is it that you have fought basically everybody there is to fight? You've fought in basically every organization that there is to fight in, and there is really nothing else for you left to accomplish? You've pretty much done everything that you've wanted to do. Is it something where health is an issue, and you want to just retire because you're worried about the body? What is the reason why you would want to walk away?
Well, for me, I guess it's just about, like you were saying, I've done pretty much everything I ever dreamed of doing, and probably even more. I don't feel like there's all that much left to do, and I don't want to be that guy that fought 3, 4, 5 years after he should have given it up. Mm-hmm. So I just don't want to stick around too long. But at the end of the day, it's going to just come down to I have to be motivated, and if there's an offer and it's not very interesting, it's not very exciting, then I won't be motivated to get ready for it. I don't want to do it halfway. So if I get an offer that's interesting, something that excites me, then I feel I can get motivated for it. Then I'll do it. There's not a lot that I haven't done yet, but if the UFC were to call again, I'd be likely to do it again. If the ONE FC wanted me to fight somewhere out in Asia, I'd probably be pretty excited about doing that. Mm-hmm. So it just depends on the situation. It's like I said, one fight at a time. When the phone rings, I'll decide yes or no, and if the answer is no, then life goes on. If the answer is yes, then I start training again. So we'll just kind of see how things play out. But I think right now I just have to stay focused on the fight in front of me.
Mm-hmm. Do you have a wife and kids? Is that something where you have a family, and that might be something to hang it up for? Or are you still a single guy?
Still a single guy, and not hating it. So no, I'm not too worried about stuff like that right now. I just feel like I've done a lot of things, and I've been fighting a long time. I'm still fairly young, and health is pretty good, and I want to move on to the next part of my life, being healthy and feeling good the way I am right now. And I'm not in a panic to get out of the business, but I'm not that 25-year-old kid that was desperate to get into the UFC anymore. I've done all those things and had all those experiences. So now it's kind of like I wait and see what gets put in front of me. If it's, like I said, if it's something I haven't done before, then I'm more likely to do it.
Mm-hmm. It's basically a year since you last fought. When you fought Caleb Starnes, it was in September of last year. Just curious, what's been the holdup? Why have we not seen you fight in basically a year? January, February, March, April, there was those few months there. I got probably 2 or 3 offers to fight in different places, and for one reason or another, they just kind of fell through. And I guess you get kind of tired of the up and down of the business. I mean, I get a phone call saying, "Hey, you're going to fight so and so," and you start getting excited. You start watching some videotape, and you start training, and then a week later, they're like, "Hey, they went with somebody else, so you're not fighting." And there's that up and down that gets really old after a few years, and and that's not the reason I was thinking of giving it up. But at the same time, it's like, I had 3-4 fights where we thought we had a fight, and then again it just fell through. And there was a couple other offers that we got that were just not interesting, not attractive offers. Like, and I don't have a problem saying no. I've fought 65 times, and I don't really feel like I have all that much left to prove. So if the fight's not very interesting to me, then I don't really see the point in taking it. So, like I said, this one's interesting to me. It's fighting at home, shooting for my 50th win at home, and fighting at home is always good for me. I always like it. So, this is an interesting situation. So I said, yeah, let's do it. And then after that, we'll see how I feel. We'll see how I feel in the cage, and we'll see how I feel fighting again. Mm-hmm. And I'll basically make my decision shortly after the fight. Mm-hmm. One of those fights that I think you're talking about is a fight against Melvin Manhoef. That was a fight where it had been a long rumor that you were going to go fight him in ONE FC. Is that one of the fights that you're referring to, and why wasn't that fight able to be put together?
Yeah, that's one of a few that kind of happened that way, and yeah, I mean, it is what it is. Like, they make their decision, for their own business, and they do what they got to do, what they think is best for them. I know that I was one of 2 guys that they were thinking about throwing in there against him, and at the end of the day, they chose somebody else, and whatever reasons that they had, those are that's their choice to make, and it just wasn't my day, so I didn't get that fight. I was looking forward to it. I was excited about it, but it didn't happen. So life goes on.
Mm-hmm. Was there a contract offer on the table, or was it just a one-off to fight Manhoef? And if you weren't going to fight Melvin, then you weren't going to fight there at all?
I honestly don't even know. I think there was probably a contract offer on the table, and I don't know. It was like, maybe the timing just wasn't right. It could be that they might be interested down the road, and if they are, I'd still like to go out there and have that experience.
Mm-hmm. There was another fight that Darren Owen, who's with AFC, he was talking about a while ago. You had just won 2 fights for AFC. This was after the Caleb Starnes fight. I was talking to him, and he said that they were potentially looking for you to fight either Kendall Grove or John Salter, who had both won some fights recently at that time for AFC, and they were going to have you fight one of those 2 guys for the middleweight title for AFC. Was that a fight that was ever offered, regardless of who the guy was? Were you ever offered a title fight from AFC?
I'm not sure if it came as far as a title fight. I know both those names were mentioned. Kendall Grove, I'm not sure, if there was ever a set date or anything like that. I think it was something that was discussed, but it never really went as far as setting a date and signing a contract. It just didn't really work out. Mm-hmm. And John Salter, he's got we're under the same management, and we just didn't feel like it was worth doing that fight. There just wasn't enough at stake to justify doing it.
Mm-hmm. Now, there's another guy who people have wanted to see you fight for a long time. You fought him once before, David Loiseau. There was a lot of interest in you fighting him, and then there's also been a lot of interest in you coaching against him on the Ultimate Fighter Canada. That plan has been thrown out the window because now they're doing a Tough Nations where they're going to have Patrick Cote and Kyle Noak coach Canada and Australia. That's going to be the Tough. Was that a fight that was ever offered to you, regardless if it was in the UFC or not in the UFC, a rematch with David Loiseau?
It's something that's been talked about before. Again, it has to be a situation, I guess, that works for both of us. And in the past, it had been discussed once or twice, but it just wasn't a good situation for him or for me at the time. And then, obviously, the Ultimate Fighter, if we got a chance to do that, that would have been great. But, they went another direction. So is it a fight that I'd be interested in? Yeah, I think so. Having lost to him 10 years ago or 11 years ago, yeah, I'd like to fight him again. But again, it's not really going to change my life story or how happy I am if it doesn't happen. If the situation's right, of course I'll do it. If it doesn't happen, it's not really going to break my heart.
Mm-hmm. Were there any serious talks with the UFC about coaching the Ultimate Fighter against him? Because he went to Twitter and he was really, really into it. He got the fans somewhat behind him, and he was really pushing for this. Was this ever, a serious conversation about you two coaching against each other and being back in the UFC, or was this just something where he was just campaigning hard for it?
I think it's something that that we were both interested in doing. I don't have no idea, as far as the UFC getting involved. I didn't talk to them about it. I don't know if my management did either. It's not something I'm sure that they were even. I have no idea whether or not it's something they were aware of or interested in. It's just, it was something that the fans had talked about on Twitter, and Dave and I had talked about a little bit, but it never, it just never came to. It never happened. So, that's life. Some things work out, some things don't.
Mm-hmm. The fight happened, like you said, 10 years ago. Why do you think that fans want to see this fight so badly? Because I go to Top MMA News, the Canadian MMA website. I go to their website a lot, and there's always fans talking about this fight. There's all these fans who want to see this fight happen. Why do you think that is? Why do you think that a lot of people want to see a fight between you and David? This has been something that it's a fight that happened a long time ago. Why do you think the interest is so high to see a rematch between you and David?
I think because we fought once before. It went to a decision. It was a close fight, and it was before either one of us fought in the UFC. And I think that we're both very different fighters. We've, I think, evolved our game, by leaps and bounds over the last 10 years. And I just think it'd be a whole new fight. It'd be much more exciting probably than the first one, and the first one wasn't too bad. So I think it's just an interesting fight, and it'd be part of Canadian MMA history again. So, it's an interesting fight, but again, whether or not it happens, it's hard to say.
Mm-hmm. Now, you said that, you're unsure if you're going to stick around or retire, but you said that if you get an interesting offer, you will continue. Is the interesting offer more the fighter that you'll get offered, or the organization that you'll get offered in? If the UFC comes calling or ONE FC comes calling, will that factor more than if you get maybe David Loiseau in a small show, or someone, UFC vet kind of guy like that? What will weigh more heavier, the organization if it's a high organization, or the fighter if it's maybe a small show but still a quality opponent?
A little bit of both, I think. I'll do a smaller show if the opponent's interesting, and if it's a win that would get me some attention, I guess, from a bigger show. I don't really like doing small shows if my opponent's just someone no one's ever heard of. There's no point. The guy I'm fighting now, he's got a really good record. He's kind of up and comer in Canada, so I think that a win there would be, it would look pretty good, and it could have potential for something good to come out of it later. So this fight's interesting to me, but just to fight some guy that no one's ever heard of, I don't really want to do that. I would say it's kind of a toss-up between, is it a big show, or does it at least have potential to get me into a big show? And that's kind of how we're going to make those decisions. Mm-hmm.
Transitioning to September 13th, CFC 8, you're going to be taking on Mike Kent. What are your thoughts about him as an opponent?
It's an interesting fight. He's newer to the sport, I guess you could say. He wants to make a name for himself, obviously, and I'm happy to give him the opportunity, but he has to accept the fact that I'm not going to make it easy for him, and my goal is to try and ruin his hopes and dreams, I guess, and so yeah, hopefully it's an interesting night for the fans. My goal is to get it over and done with as quick as possible.
Mm-hmm. Obviously, your main advantage is your experience, because you fought, basically the who's who in MMA, and you have a lot more fights than he does. So experience is definitely on your side. But besides experience, where else do you feel you have the advantage in this fight? I've watched a little bit of tape on him. There's not a whole lot out there, but I just think I've been fighting for a lot longer than him. Obviously, experience is going to be a big issue. I think people underestimate my striking. I think he's probably looking to keep it standing, and I could be wrong, but I think he's going to underestimate my striking, and I think it's going to, hopefully, cost him when at the end of the day, cost him a win. Mm-hmm. Now, you said if this is going to be your last fight, you're going to just, accept it and just move on to a different area of your life. Just curious, what is that area? What do you think about doing if you're not going to be fighting anymore?
Well, your guess is as good as mine. I don't know. I don't have a plan. There's a lot of different things a person can do, obviously, and it just really depends on what kind of opportunities I run into. I've got some stuff I'm working on right now, but I don't want to talk about it too much, I guess. But things change every time I make plans. They change on me, so it's kind of hard to say what's going to happen in the next couple of years. Mm-hmm. I really couldn't say for sure. If I told you I had a plan, it would change within 6 weeks. So there's no point in talking about it.
Well, fair enough. Well, Joe, I really hope that you do stick around. You've been in the game a very long time, and you're still a young man, even though you've been in this game a very long time. So I hope you continue to fight for many years to come. Real quick before I let you go, do you have any sponsors you'd like to thank, and is there anything you'd like to say to the fans?
Yeah, just to the fans, thanks for watching, and like I said, I hope it's fun for you guys to watch. I know people are paying money to watch this stuff, so first of all, thanks for watching, and thanks for supporting the sport over the years, and hopefully it continues to go the direction that it has. My teammates, just a big thank you to my coach and teammates at Canadian Fighting Center, and my strength and conditioning coach over at McDowell's Gym here in Winnipeg, and that's it. Just everybody who's been supportive over the years, just a big thank you to them, and hopefully things go well for me on the 13th, and if things go really well, then maybe we'll just keep on going. We'll see. One fight at a time. That's kind of my attitude right now.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. Joe, thank you for taking the time to talk. I really appreciate it. Good luck September 13th at CFC 8 against Mike Kent.